Yeah, there we go. Welcome everyone once again to my second review for the bike that's behind me, Specialized Camber. This is the base edition. I am going to do another review because I think I need to do a briefer review and I tend to talk too much. But anyways, I'm going to reflect back on what I'm seeing in the 2018 model as opposed to the 2017 model. This is the 2017 model. Not that much of a difference really, but you're seeing about a $200, almost $200 price drop. I think it's like $175 or something like that, cheaper. And I'll explain why. But I wanted to reflect back and say what were the top like 4 things that I really liked about this bike. There's a lot of things I really liked about this bike. This is a great beginner's bike for anyone out there. Specialized has really put the punch in their bottom line, but a bottom line of bikes, and you just don't see very many reviews for stuff that's, at the bottom of the rung because everybody wants stuff most high end, and I get that. I mean, obviously, I upgraded to a Pivot Mach 6, so I completely understand that. But I'm going to go through, like I said, about 4 things, maybe 5 things. Number 1 thing I really liked on this bike was the fork. The other thing is, please don't kill me, but I like the 29er tires. The third thing I liked was, this has got a 2X drivetrain on it, and I really like that feature, coming away from the other bike that I had. And the saddle, as well as some of the cabling and other aesthetics, I guess, I really liked. Obviously, I really like the color, believe it or not, too. I talk about some of the things that I really didn't like, and there are some performance things for the way I ride. Not a big deal. And then what would I change? If I was to keep this bike and not sell it and not have bought the other bike, what would I have changed? Probably quite a few things, because I would have had the money to put money into the money. Have you ever put money inside money? It's pretty cool. So that's basically what I want to talk about. And this guide here is for a Canon camera, so we are not going to look at that. I don't even know why that's over here. What the heck? Now let's talk about the fork. We have a Rockshox 5-inch stanchions, so we've got 4.7 inches, and this is a Rockshox sector fork. Let me look at my notes. The new bike, this is the big difference between the 2018 and 2017 models. This is a sector fork. The new bike has a recon fork. What's the big difference? Not a whole lot. Obviously, you're getting a little bit better fork, a little bit better performance. It's got some internals that a lot of people don't know about. These internals are the valving and the doodads inside the fork. I forget, the bike shop told me about it. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. You're gonna feel a lot more small bump compliance. It's gonna be better for trail riding, especially in the first initial part of the travel. And I can attest to that. It has been a pretty sweet fork. It reminds me of my Marzocchi fork back in evolutionary front fork company that just blew everybody else away. The Recon is basically a more shorter travel bike, so you can't update the travel. You could update the travel on this, make it a little bit longer. Wouldn't really recommend going more than 10 millimeters. But those are your basic differences. Otherwise, you've got your rebound on the inside underneath the fork here. You've got your cap on the front here. You just unscrew it nice and... Oops, I just lost it. Oh well, gotta keep on riding. You got your compression and lockout on this side dial. So, pretty basic fork. Like I said, it works marvelously well. Happy with it. I can't say anything bad about it. I'm going to like it, and I'm not going to like it, seeing it go out the door. So, 29-inch wheels. I definitely felt a difference. I felt like I was going faster. I felt like I could conquer more things, roll over more things. I felt more stable, which I think is pretty much the idea behind a 29-inch tires, 29er tires, whatever you want to call them. These are purgatory on the front, ground control in the rear. 29.23 is what it says on the tire, so not super wide. but I really liked the tires. I really liked the way they performed. I didn't have anything bad to say about it. The 2X drivetrain, I think if I was going to say one thing that I'm going to miss from this bike going into the 1X drivetrain on my Pivot, it's just definitely not having that front granny gear. And, you know, I use that many times when I'm out on the trail and I'm going up a hill and I'm getting tired at the end of the day, or all of a sudden there's a hill that I wasn't expecting. Throw it down on the granny gear and keep pedaling on. So I that definitely is an advantage for me on this bike. I know I'm going to have some backwards and forwards thoughts about that, you know, going forward with the 1X drivetrain on my other bike. But, you know, sometimes you just got to adapt to the times, and that's basically what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm going to have some shifting issues here and there. But like I said, it's not something you can't get used to. So just like anything else. The saddle on this bike is actually pretty cool. I think the saddle on the 2018s are a little different. I'm not sure if it's the graphics or what, but I really like the saddle, and I would buy another one of these saddles. I'm not sure what this is on here, other than it's a specialized saddle. The other thing I really liked on this bike that my Pivot doesn't have is internal cable routing. This is the only cable that's on the outside right here. The shifting cables are inside the tubes. Bonus for me because, you know, what's the dirtiest part of the bike besides you? The down tube. On that same note, the water bottle mount. I really like the water bottle mount here rather than down here where you're trying to reach for it and you actually get your hand cut on a rock as you're passing by it, or the chainsaw sitting on the side of the trail somewhere. Seriously. So those are my likes for the most part. What did I really not like? And I have to say the quick releases. Through axles. Sorry, I have it written down here as quick releases. Still getting used to the through axles. I don't think the through axles on either front and rear are really well designed on this bike. I think that's one of the big setbacks. I also had issues with just being able to figure out how the front functions. Maybe I'm stupid, I don't know, but I did get used to it, and I would probably consider looking at getting something a little bit better for the front axle on this bike, honestly. So that's one of the things that I would upgrade if I was to upgrade. Number 2 on my didn't like, believe it or not, I have a fork in the suspension design, and I think looking back, I always feel like, you know, I'm using only half of the travel on the front fork. I was always feeling like it was setting in too much on the trail. You have to consider too, I call it the usable travel. I had another term that was better. On this fork, it's 4.7 inches. On the, when you're out on the trail, it's more like 3.5, because you're probably sitting at 90 millimeters on the trail. You know, the sag setup does take away from the suspension. So what is the usable? That's determined. What's your usable travel? Your usable travel is what you're actually using besides the sag. And on this bike, it'd be 190 millimeters, which would be a little over 3.5 inches. I really didn't like the rear suspension design all that much this time around. Switching back and forth between the Pivot and this bike, I am feeling the difference in pedal performance. Definitely. It's not huge, but it's noticeable. I feel like the rear end is moving a little bit too much. I think they need to fine tune it a little bit more. FSR has been around since like the beginning. I mean, they've had that suspension design for 20 years. It's a great design. It's a functional design, but I'm not sure what you could do to help with the pedal performance on that. So that's pretty much rounds it out. If I was to change anything on this bike, I don't know if I talked about this or not. I talked about the through axles, excuse me. But the grips would be another thing that I would change. I changed the handlebars already. I don't know if that was a plus or minus for me. I do like the shorter handlebars, but the grips are getting worn out. I would seriously consider looking at a different, like a Rockshox rear shock too, because X-Fusion has its limits. It feels like it has a weird arc. Sometimes it's stiff when it's not supposed to be stiff. Sometimes it's, you know, like I said with the suspension design, it just doesn't seem like it's 100% performing all the time. I think I'm done, folks. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I hope you are looking at Specialized Camber, because it is a great beginner bike to get out on the trail. You are going to want to ride the trails more if you buy one of these, for sure.
I know for me, it inspired me to get out and ride more, get more terrain, more variations of different places I could ride, totaling some 76 new trails I've never ridden before. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day riding the terrain like no one else.